We head now to Golden Bay at the top of the South Island, of course, where the clear, cold waters of Te Waikoropupu Springs have welled up through the earth and out to sea for thousands of years. But there's concern the country's largest freshwater springs are under threat from increased demand from commercial mining and irrigation users. Now a special conservation order is being sought, which if granted would give the springs the highest protection possible. Our reporter Tracy Neal went to the springs ahead of the start of the Environmental Protection Authority tribunal hearing today.
A bright green and blue garden shimmers from the depth of the largest cold water springs in the southern hemisphere. Andrew Yule, who teamed up with the Golden Bay iwi Ngāti Tama to apply for the water conservation order, describes the first time he saw Te Waikoropupu Springs.
Slightly elusive, a kind of presence. There was just a sense of an enormous power that is lifting up such a huge amount of water. And later on we started putting numbers to it, and it's a truckload every second. But it was doing it silently and with a grace, and it was lifting it from some completely unknown, invisible depth. And of course, the almost bewitching clarity of the water.
So far, water conservation orders have only ever applied to rivers, but this application is for an aquifer that supplies the springs. Sharon Campbell is one of the 95% of 2,000 plus submitters who support it.
They actually need to be protected by all New Zealanders, otherwise we're going to lose them.
More than half of all submissions came via an online tool set up by Forest and Bird. Debs Martin from the conservation group says it was a good way to capture people's stories.
And we wanted to set up a tool that would allow people from across the country to easily be able to just put their thoughts down about how they felt about it and their connections to there. And the stories have been really quite compelling. You know, it is an incredibly important water body in the eyes of New Zealanders.
A water conservation order would not affect existing consents which relate mainly to irrigation. No one currently bottles water from the springs, but several companies are interested. Debs Martin is worried about the lack of hard data about human impact on the springs.
There's lots of conceptual modelling, and there's been an increasing intensification of land use in areas near to the springs, as well as proposals, you know, way upstream. And our understanding of how that's all managed is something that's been brewing along for quite a long time, really.
Most want the springs and systems that feed them protected because of their cultural and historical significance. Others want the rights of existing farmers and commercial operators protected. A water conservation order can prohibit or restrict new water and discharge permits from being issued by regional councils. A small number like the iwi authority for Ngāti Rārua, one of 3 Golden Bay mohua iwi, don't support the conservation order at all. Te Runanga o Ngāti Rārua Chair Olivia Hall says it doesn't feel an order would go far enough.
We would much prefer to see a model like Whanganui River had, which is Te Tupua. It's actually a Māori-based model where iwi are given a lot more rights and standing, as well as the actual water body would be given legal rights as a person.
Andrew Yule says protecting the water and the rare plant and animal species that live in them is a small part of a bigger picture.
This is perhaps one of the abiding treasures which is coming to us through this collaboration between myself and Ngāti Tama, because some kind of understanding of how to live sustainably in our world is something that society really badly needs right at the moment.
The hearing is scheduled to run for 3.5 weeks. The tribunal will then prepare a report that either includes a draft water conservation order or a recommendation that the application be declined. I mohua mō te hōtaka, o te ahi ko Tracy Neal tēnei.